Good morning. I was going to give the day, but you might be watching this on a replay instead of live. So I don't want to spoil it for you. Good day to you. Welcome, welcome, welcome to Launch Crate live from home. We are broadcasting today with a very special launch party for a very special book. And we'll have the guest of honor joining us soon. But what I need you to do right now is to tap in, say hello, let us know where you're watching from so that we can share your message of congrats with our guest of honor today. There's always a lot of fun surprises in store for everyone on these special live streams. So, whether you're watching with us now or you're watching the replay, let us know what nuggets, what bits of wisdom you pick up. Drop it in the comments so that we can interact with you as we go. Again, make sure that you tap in and say hello. We love to make these interactive. And before I bring our special guest of honor on, I'm going to bring in one of our special guests today. Michael, how are you?
I'm excellent. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, thank you for joining us. It's kind of early where you are, so I am really grateful that you're joining us for this live stream.
Not a problem. I wouldn't have missed it.
Awesome, awesome. So we are here to celebrate someone very near and dear to you. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Can you tell me a little bit about her?
I have the great honor of introducing my mom, Mary Baird Tetweiler. My mother had a lifetime as a gifted education teacher. She is responsible during her career for not only serving as an educator, but just really working to inspire and help push along the best and the brightest who often needed an extra helping hand. And I was always very proud to see her as an educator, but I also got to see her as a mother. And I got to see her devotion to her children. And I've gotten to see the effects of her influence, not only on her students, but on the rest of my siblings and I. And
Yeah.
I'm really proud of her for taking that energy and creating these books because I've enjoyed seeing them in the hands of my siblings and I, my nieces, as well as my mom's former students and my friends and their children. And I've enjoyed seeing that spark being transmitted um, so far. And so it is a great honor to be able to introduce my mother. And I am so excited to see this second book in the hands of all of these children.
Yeah, I am as well. Should we bring her to the stage?
That sounds great to me.
All right. Our
Hi.
guest of honor,
Thank you
welcome.
very much, Michael. Cynthia, thank you. I'm glad this day is here. I've been looking forward to it with great anticipation.
Same, same. So I think I saw you backstage with a tissue. Was that right? Yeah. Did Michael do a fantastic job of introducing you?
He knows me well. Thank you so much, Michael.
Yeah. How did that feel?
It felt really, really good. I
Yeah.
really feel blessed. My children have wonderful ideas and really are teaching me at this
Hmm.
stage of my life. And just that I have the chance to be an author at this last chapter, perhaps, in my life. No, Michael says no way. But
Right with Michael.
realistically, it's, it's I just am very, very thankful and grateful for the day.
Yeah.
Very, very
Awesome.
much so. And I realized I took a walk this morning and it felt so good. And I tried to make myself think of all the funny things that happened on the 2 years with my tour with Betty and reading the book to lots of children and
Yeah.
experiences along the way. And I have a special bench that I sit on. And when I got there, I just was full of just complete joy. I mean,
Yeah.
it's really been a good journey. Something that has taught me a lot about myself and also taught me a lot about how to write my words and not to be
Yeah.
afraid for people to share them.
Awesome.
So
So you've had quite a bit of support on your journey.
a lot. And I want
Yeah.
to thank people. You know, I also realized that writing a book, I think I picture you kind of in a recluse little place and you write
Mhm.
your words, but it takes a lot of people to encourage you. And also, I learned the process of writing is to share it before it becomes public. So I
Yeah.
had wonderful editors,
Mhm.
Maggie Carr and Leslie Coates, who every time I would take a revision on my book and they would look at it, I would say, I promise this is the exact draft. This is the way it's going to be. And it might be a week or two, and I'd say, no, I've changed some things. And they'd say, well, they were so faithful and so good about reading every one of my drafts. And they did a lot more than editing. They encouraged me and gave me some suggestions along the way. So I had alpha readers. I let people read my book early on. All of my children were alpha readers. And I left a part of them in the story. Michael is the dad that gives me kind of some encouragement to not be afraid and reach out.
Mhm.
Marcus and Molly suggested that maybe the shadows mingle at the beginning when they find Shadow, when she adopts Shadow at the rescue shelter. Megan was really, really into, Mom, you must have an arc in your book and tell the story. So that's a big part of my progression as a writer. And Marlo read my book, and there's a part I had to have puppies in the book because I have a lot of grand pups. And the part where Shadow escapes from his crate, then searches for Betty and crawls up in bed and cuddles. And Marlo wrote and suggested I let her do that. And so I left that in the book. So as I read it now and share it, I'm going to think of all those things. So the alpha readers were really important. There's a sophomore in high school this year that read and was an alpha reader for the beginning. And she has been so inspirational and so helpful. And she shared my book at high school. So I'm
very cool. Should we bring
yeah.
some of the alpha readers that you mentioned to the front? I feel like Michael might need his siblings up here with him.
Always happier with the sibling.
Can I bring them in? Okay. Marcus,
Hi, Mark. Good.
Hi, everybody.
how are you?
Hear what I was saying?
I heard what you were saying. That was really, really nice. You know, sequels are my favorite part of an anthology. Some of my favorite parts of overall narratives are book number 2. I was just thinking about that this morning, Mom, and I think that this is my favorite so far. I'll be excited for book number 3 and beyond, but number 2 is really, really good. So I just wanted to call out a couple of my favorite part 2s. The Godfather Part 2, a fantastic part 2. Star Wars Empire Strikes Back. Lord of the Rings, Two Towers. I feel like the Harry Potter with Slytherin. Michael, help me out. Chamber of Secrets.
Chamber of Secrets.
Yeah. All of these sequels, all of these book number 2s are just really where, especially with trilogies, obviously, but more than that, I feel like a lot of times where an author really has hit their stride and they really let their characters walk their stuff, whether that is walking a dog or just being themselves and growing in their own character journey. So I really enjoyed this sequel, and I am cautiously optimistic for number 3 after this as well.
No pressure, Mary. No pressure.
One book at a time, one step at a time.
And I have to say thank you particularly for our puppy, Frances. Fran is a Labrador, almost 3-year-old. When she's being a very good girl, she goes by Fran. And when she sometimes has room for improvement, she's Frances with the full name. So I think that she might be one of these puppy characters in the book. And from our little family unit, it was just really special to see Fran having a role in the story. And to see her on the page was really cool. Even on that little pop-up behind you, Mom, right there on your shelf. looks like that could be a Fran right there. So it was just really
Dad
cool to see.
says that now we have a puppy.
Yeah, now you have a puppy.
Mhm.
Well, congratulations, Mom.
Thank you.
Very cool. Mary, who should we bring in next?
Just push the button. Surprise me.
Okay.
Hi.
Lila, welcome.
Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Everybody.
Thanks for
Hi,
getting-
Mom. Hi,
Bye.
Cynthia. Thanks for having us.
Thanks for joining us.
Have you
I
had your
have-
coffee this morning?
I'm having it right now. Yeah. And the sun just came in, so apologies. I was trying to get my Sally to come over and join me on the call. But
Yes.
I just wanted to say, how far have you come, Mom? From when we were little, pets only lived outside. And now they are in a book and in someone's bed snuggling with them and absolutely part of the family. And I feel very proud of that. So well done. Well done.
Thank you.
And I love that everything, we've learned as we've had these pups and training them found its way into your story, like all the tricks and all the bravery. And I do think there's such a parallel between life and the lessons we have to learn in life and what our pets can teach us. And
Thank you.
and I think it's really inspiring for all of us.
There's a special page in the book, Mark, Michael, and Meg, that all the puppies, I had my illustrator, I sent him all the breeds of all the grand pups that I have. And so every puppy is at that shelter.
Aw,
Sally, Rip, Fran,
aw,
Luke, Xavier.
aw, that's so great.
So that's kind of fun.
That's great. How are you feeling, author Mary Baird?
I'm feeling pretty good. Of course, I have a tendency to do things over the top, but I had a chance to do a walk and a little reflection, and I really like this book. So
Good.
I'm really proud to be at this place.
Good.
Thank you. I feel good.
Awesome.
1, 2, 3, and now here's my 4.
We've got 4 in. Meg, are you there?
Yes. Can you guys see me?
No.
We cannot.
You're in a witness protection program. But we have you audio only.
Shoot. That's okay. You can hear me. I'm on my. Hold on.
I think so. I'm going to speak for Meg. I think she might be doing drop off as we speak.
It sounds like it.
She might be mobile.
I am mobile. I am on my phone, so you might not be able to see me. Mom, congratulations for today launching your second book. I am what I would call at this phase in my life an avid reader of children's books. I read 3 children's books today, and I love a story that has a strong female protagonist, and so I'm really enjoying reading with my 2 girls all about Betty. And the first book was so focused on Betty exploring her future, and this book is so focused on Betty discovering her bravery. I think these themes are really universally relevant for both the young reader and the adult reader. And so I think that there's a lot to learn as we kind of journey through life with little Betty, dog and wagon in tow. So love this second book. Love the story arc and Betty's character development as you have more pages and more space to bring her more to life. I want to hear a little bit, Mom, from you, how you see Betty growing throughout these 2 books.
I think that leads right into a good question. Why was I inspired to write this book? I mean, why? And there's probably 2 reasons. But one, when I took the book and I traveled with it and I read the story over and over and over again, remembering the book, I leave Betty, and she is very young, and she's had her first experience on her own, pulling her wagon on a journey. And she imagines all the things that she can be. In that very last page, she has bright eyes and she's smiling. And she said, I have lots of ideas, and I can be whoever and whatever I want to be. If I can imagine it, I can make it happen. I think it's very inspirational and full of hope, and it has heart. But I realized as I read the book to children and I saw their faces and I saw in the room different experiences that Betty needed to grow. She needed some life skills. She needed to learn some resilience. And what I mean by that, she needed to learn to cope in the world where she lived. She needed to be able to face challenges. She needed to be able to make quick decisions. She needed to be able to face setbacks and doors shutting in her face. So unfortunately, she also had to learn how to face a little bit of hate, and how to be courageous was an important part of why I thought I needed to help Betty grow. So when I read this second book, I'm really enthused because it shows that she now has some sub skills that she can dig into to survive. And there's also a second reason I was inspired to write the book. I think with the first book, I wondered if it was a fluke. Am I really an author? Did this just happen? And Megan had influenced me to have an arc in the book. And I asked Cynthia, I want you to teach me how to write a good children's book. I want somebody to pick it up and say, this is not, my first book had a heart. I wanted my second book to have a heart and an arc. Mm-hmm. So I'm really pleased that it does.
Yeah.
So my second reason for writing the book was just to see if I could learn, see if I could write it better. Those were my two inspirations. Good morning, Meg.
Good morning. Nice to see you.
It's nice.
I could hear you, but it's very nice to see you.
Thanks, everybody, for being here. And I think there's one more person in the Zoom meeting.
Mm-hmm. The man who has had the chance to watch this story and the first book all come to fruition. Lee, how are you?
I'm just glad this day has finally come.
I bet you've had the behind the scenes glimpse of this
40,
creation.
40 years worth.
Yeah. Is there anything that you want to share with Mary today?
It's hard to balance your creativity and intelligence with reality. You've always, you're just so full of the positive things that the practical, and you're so good at them, and we all know you are in so many different ways. but then the world jumps up, and there's publishing deadlines, and who's going to be where, and how do we load the car, and did I not put it in the right place, and on and on and on and on, all the things that if you didn't have to deal with, if you could just deal with the creative stuff, you'd be hitting a home run every day. It would be easier for you. It'd be easier for you if you could just stay in the creative world.
In my reclusive little world in my library with my books and my imagination.
Yep. And let those of us that don't have any, that can't draw a picture except for stick people, deal with just the practical aspects of life, and try to help you deal with the practical parts of publishing a book. And thank you for helping her, Cynthia.
absolutely. It's been a joy and a pleasure. Been a joy and a pleasure. Well, Mary, should we chit chat some more?
Let's do. Let's do.
Okay.
I thank everybody. I do want to thank
Absolutely.
you and the launch team. And I do want to thank you and talk a little bit about the wagon. He has had to pull me, push me, and sometimes said, "Will you just get out of the wagon?"
Yep.
So let's chat. What do you?
Okay. Well, let me give your kids a reprieve, your family a reprieve. Everybody wave. Marlo's taking a picture.
But
Say
come
hey.
back.
We're staying. We're staying.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna put
Congratulations,
them
author.
backstage.
Congratulations, author.
Congratulations!
Yeah.
Buddy!
Plus, I got my dog back. I've got a dog again.
We do, Dad.
Maybe you guys should get a real one.
Yeah.
Maybe it's time to adopt a pup.
Joyful to have everybody in the same room.
I
I
think
want to
so.
win the lottery. I want to
All the dogs we've had.
Oh my goodness. We'll see y'all in a little bit.
All right.
Oh, what fun was that?
Oh my goodness.
That's enough, Cynthia.
That's not enough.
Okay. Okay.
It's not enough. How are you feeling?
I feel really, really happy. And
Yeah. Yeah. Talk to me about the best part of today so far.
I think the very best part is that I feel like I set the bar high,
Mm-hmm.
but I have learned to face some fears. And perhaps it's good not to always think that you have to reach as high as you aim.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
feel really joyful and my family. I'm just blessed. My children are amazing.
Yeah.
So thanks for including them. And I'm so grateful that they're here with me today.
I am as well. It's always more fun when you get to share events like this with the people who are closest to you.
And actually,
Um,
my daughter-in-law and Michael,
mhm.
it's Anna and Haynes, they're a big part of my journey too.
Yeah.
So I want to do a shout out to them. You didn't see their faces, but they're very, very important to me. So, and I think that's maybe the most important thing in life is our family, our
I
little
think so.
nest.
Yeah. Well, you've had a couple people tap in. Max is watching. Hey, Max from LinkedIn. I'm glad you're able to join us this morning. And Jackie sent you a lovely message through YouTube. She said you've had an amazing journey with Betty, so keep it up. Love your grandpups. Of course, your family too. Your message will help so many as it has Avery. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
You have more tissues over there?
Yes,
Okay.
I do.
Just making sure.
Good thing I put the tissue where I can.
Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Stacy Hartman just tapped in and said, so proud of you. Congratulations.
Very nice. That's my sister.
Awesome. Very cool. So we talked about this just a little bit. You started to answer the question, but tell us again what inspired you to continue Betty's story, and more than what you addressed the first time around. Tell us a little bit about how your approach to storytelling has evolved from book 1 to book 2.
I've learned a lot. I've learned from you, and I've learned from some classes that my story needed an arc.
Mm-hmm.
So I've really worked on telling the story in that way. I was inspired by just reading lots and lots of different books
Mm-hmm.
and comparing my book. I actually tore my book, my storyboard, apart. This may not be a technique that some authors use, but I tore it apart, and it was hard to delete pages and pages and pages of things that I thought, words that I thought were really important, but I was hoping to keep the book more simple.
Yeah.
And so I tore it apart and put it in that structure that I was taught was so very, very important. So I hope it will it's an improvement. So I'm very, very proud of that.
Yeah.
And
I
I'm
like it.
inspired to get my message to my readers and see how they respond.
Yeah. So this is the second in the Betty and Her Red Wagon series. This book is called Courage Unleashed. And of course, the central theme is courage, as it should be with the title of Courage Unleashed. Can you tell us maybe about a more personal story where you faced a moment that required courage for you and how that might have influenced Betty's story?
I do have a story, but I thought I would have can you bring my children back on?
Well, you tell the story first and then I'll bring the kids back in.
Sounds like a plan.
Okay.
I had always wanted, my favorite happy place is to walk along the beach and to listen to the water. Of course, that doesn't happen in Kansas. So my happy place is by the ocean. And I always had watched and been amazed at young and old people diving through the waves. And I had always wanted to do that. Having not grown up by an ocean, I didn't have the opportunity to learn that when I was little. And there was a part of me that thought, I'm too old for that. Let that go. But I had a drive to dive through that wave. But I was afraid. And my fear led me to make a lot of mistakes. I tried it on my own. And the water would whip me and drag my face into the sand. And I thought, what am I doing? This is ridiculous. Why can't I sit on the beach with my husband and watch the sunset? Just let it go. I couldn't. So I mentioned it to my children, and they took it upon themselves that they were going to help me get through that wave.
Yeah.
So they took me to some place where they tried to convince me that the waves were small. The sun was setting. And this was a gentle place that I could dive through the waves. And I was determined and thinking, oh, I can do this. But I was really scared. It was a fright that I have felt sometimes in my life, but this was a physical thing that I thought I could no longer do. Are you kidding? Have my old body go through that wave? I just had all kinds of doubts. So I expressed it loudly on the beach that I wasn't going to do it.
Yeah.
But everybody on the beach learned that this older woman did not want to jump in the waves. And I did it quickly. I didn't even try very hard. In my mind, it was just a roadblock. I was not doing it. Nobody was going to make me do it. And I looked up and I saw the faces on my children, and I could tell they were really disappointed. Oh my gosh, Mom's really quit early. She's not going to do this. She wanted to do it, and she's got her heels dug into the sand. Not me. And then Haynes, my son-in-law, and Molly, my daughter-in-law, so extension of my family, came, and they took my hands. And Haynes, who seems to be a wave whisperer, said to me, don't think. Don't think.
Yeah.
I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, and then just dive. And it's pretty hard to say no to not my blood, but people I love. So I didn't think. Maybe that was something that I learned about myself. Maybe if I analyzed it, maybe I'm always thinking, and you just have to let that go.
Yeah.
So I took their hands. I didn't have any self-doubt. And he said, go. And I dove through that wave, and it was calm. I thought it was scary. But and I know I was supposed to have my eyes shut, but I didn't. But it was a deep cobalt blue, or it felt like that to me. It was calm. I felt my old body being just like a dolphin, and I rode the waves. So that was when I was inspired that I wanted to have my puppy go through that wave. But that was one of the things that was quickly deleted from my book by the editor. They said, nobody takes a puppy and throws them in a wave. So I'm anxious to see what my children say about that experience, because that's what inspired me to write the story about the puppy being afraid of the water.
Yeah. Well, we've got Meg in here with you. Meg, do you remember that?
I was not part of this wave experience, but I know that Marlo and
Yeah.
Marcus and Molly were.
And
Okay.
And Haynes, yes.
Let's bring them in. Let's bring them in.
A wave whisperer, it sounds like.
The wave whisperer.
Haynes
I
will live
definitely
with that.
remember.
I definitely remember it.
I'm really proud of me. It was one of my finest moments. I'm putting my heels up. I'm not going to.
I do think like it takes a lot of bravery when your body is saying I'm scared, and you're having those physical reactions of like you almost physically couldn't do it, and then to make the decision to trust and try. And I think that's where the magic is. And I do think it's a lot easier when you have love and support the way Betty loves and supports her pup. And what a gift that we're able to experience that in our life and in our family.
Yeah.
Even if the just before wasn't, super fun.
I like how you're wave whisperer in that story, and then also just having the comfort of having your hand held as well, kind of getting that support for the head and that support for the heart. So like I feel like sometimes it's so easy where maybe when you're really thinking a lot about something, especially when it's scary, fight or flight, a lot of times people will say, too much analysis leads to paralysis. And I think sometimes it's really hard to turn that off to then become actionable. And I also think on the other end of that coin, sometimes you just need that squeeze of a hand and a little bit of love from a friend or from family. So I like that in that story, there's both sides for, the mentals, and then also for like the heart and the soul. And I think in a good moment of support and encouragement, you're getting a little bit of both. So that's why I really like that one.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
And I also think there's something, especially in our culture today and with high functioning, fast thinking people, it's hard to ask for help. And nobody does it alone. And if there's something you want to do, dive under the wave, write a book, whatever it is, it's okay to ask for help. And I think there's a lot of strength in that, where unfortunately, we've been taught that maybe asking for help is a weakness. I actually think it takes a lot of strength and bravery to be like, I want something, help me get there. And I think that's a lesson we could all learn in our life. And I think, there's always people ready to help.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we tried really hard to show just that in the book. Betty,
I know.
First part of the book, she goes, I can take care of everything. I can do it.
Right.
You've got this. And then she realizes that her ideas aren't working, and she goes to her dad, and she wants to be independent, but she asks him for help, and he makes suggestions. And then she tries to do what he said, and she slows down, and she realizes that it's okay to ask for help. And sometimes the most courageous thing is to work with other people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Not to
Absolutely.
have fear, that you don't have to face fear alone. So I didn't want that puppy.
Yeah.
I didn't want that puppy to be afraid of the water its entire existence. But the puppy wasn't going to change. So it is symbolic, probably, of people. And not everybody that reads the book puts the layers in it. But it is that it's okay to ask for help. And at the very end, I hate to ruin the ending of the story, but
Don't say it yet. Don't say it yet.
Yeah, don't say it.
okay.
Yeah. We're gonna read it. We're gonna read it later.
That's what I was thinking about. I was hoping that I could write it so that my words would recapture it in a way that maybe the parent could sit and talk to their child and teach them that it's okay. to
Yeah.
ask for help, to trust.
Marlo and Marcus, thank you for those nuggets of wisdom. Lee, we saw you backstage.
Yeah, I just wanted to add a little context to this story because I was there. I was there on the beach, and I really am the scaredy cat that stayed on the beach. I didn't have the courage that Mary had to go out and dive in this hole in these 8, 10-foot, 12-foot waves. I just didn't. The undertow scared me. I think it even pulled me down. I crawled out and I stayed up on the beach with where it was safe. So, I mean, this whole deal about courage and facing your fears, I didn't. And so it makes me appreciate, because I was right there and saw her. She's so short. I mean, the further she went out, the only thing you could see was her head. And she was standing beside Haynes and Molly, as I recall. And then the next thing I know, it was just like a dolphin. She just dove right into the wave. It's like, I'll never see her again. She's gone. The undertow will get her for sure, like it got me. I mean, it knocked me down, and I was only in up to my ankles. I mean, it just the strength of nature has always scared me.
Mhm.
Tornadoes here in Kansas, whatever. But I'm just telling you.
As I read the book, I put Lee's fright in the book also. I didn't put his name there, but as I read it, I want you to think, okay, that's how Lee felt when that undertow was pulling at him.
I'm just trying to say it's not make believe. I mean, I was there and it scared the poop out of me. And she had the courage to do it. So my hat's off to her. That's all. I just wanted to add a little context to the fear part, the fear and the courage part.
The fear and the courage. Thanks for that. So, Mary, would you say that in writing this story, has your own understanding of courage shifted at all or deepened?
I still have a long way to go.
Yeah.
But at least I have a book I can pick up and think at one point I was fearless.
Yeah. I would imagine there's probably been other moments throughout your life where that's happened, right?
I am sure of it.
Yeah.
We have to dig deep and trust that things will, with the help of friends, family.
Yeah.
I think I've had to face a lot of fears. I mean, I was fearful of this launch and over prepared for it, thinking of all the things that could go wrong. There's lots of things that I fear in the near future that I have no control over. That I have to dig deep and think of some of those coping skills. Okay, time will tell. Be patient.
Absolutely.
One step at a time.
Yeah, and that's starting to get into the area of growth and resilience, which is also a major theme that you see in this second book. How did you approach the writing of that part of character development for Betty, and then even for Shadow and Anna, because we see it come out in them as well?
I've kind of touched a little bit on Betty. The words don't really tell the whole story. It starts with I. I've got you. You've got this. And then deliberately, I changed it to we. So that's growth. But Betty's growth is also shown with the dad's response to Betty. I want to rescue a puppy. Well, if you've ever been a parent, you think, you're going to take care of that puppy by yourself? So dad said, I'll sleep on it. But he knew that Betty was old enough to take that responsibility. And he kind of let her, he didn't appear in the story until she asked for help. But there's another point where it shows Betty's growth is when the wave appears, the big storm, and dad is observing it. I think as a parent, sometimes we want to rush in and save the child. So we rescue them too soon. So it was important for me to show the growth of Betty, that her dad said, I've got to let her try.
Yeah.
So he pushes, I'm ruining the end, and I won't do that, but he helps her. But he doesn't do it for her.
Yeah.
And so it really shows the growth that he realized that to grow, kids need to face failures. They
Yeah.
need to learn from their experiences. So that is in the book, and that shows the growth. And Shadow is so afraid of the water, but I think we're missing a character that I think is the most important, and that's Anna. In the
Mhm.
Shadow comes into her life unexpectedly, and she's been the main friend.
Mhm.
And at first, with the illustrations is what people have to look to know the personality of Anna. At first, she's really skeptical. What are you doing here? And then as the book goes on, you know, cats are afraid of water.
Yeah.
It was important to me to show that Anna would do anything for her new friend. She would even get in the water. She would show him how to do tricks. She wanted her friend to succeed. And then I love the ending where Shadow, well, I won't tell the ending, but Shadow realizes what a friend and what trust he has in this cat. But you
Yeah.
don't have any words. It's all in the illustrations, which is something I had to learn I was diligent in learning it, is the illustrations must show a layer of the story that does not have to be told with the words. So parents, as you read the story, ask your children, what do you see? What is Anna doing? What do you think Anna is feeling? And then, of course, Shadow, when Betty says, 1, 2, 3, come, Shadow, I don't think Shadow begins to think. So Shadow grows and begins to dog paddle.
Yeah.
And then you'll see what happens at the end of the book.
There's growth all around.
Growth all-
There's growth all around. From dad to Betty to pets included.
Fear in the story.
Yeah.
There was a lot of fear in the story.
So you mentioned the layer and the depth of the illustrations. Can we talk a little bit about your illustrator who has done another phenomenal job?
Dennis is phenomenal. I have the opportunity, which most authors don't have, to collaborate with my illustrator.
Mhm.
And I will send him ideas, and then he sends me back a sketch. And sometimes I say I love it, and sometimes I tell him more about what. And he always adds something that I don't think of. So he's able to, like the personality of Anna, the
Mhm.
cat, like the personality of Shadow that's shown as in the, and then there's a part, I haven't talked about the red wagon, but the red wagon, he and I agreed, is more than a physical object in the book. In the first book, it was a collection of all her experiences.
Mhm.
She was pulling along everything that she learned. And it was a vivid connection with her imagination. In the second book, he and I decided that the wagon is more like a database. It's a collection of it. And so the first pages where she's thinking about the trailblazers that her Mimi tells her about, that's in her wagon.
Yeah.
And thinking about creating that flower blossom crown with her Mimi, that's in her wagon. It's something familiar that she can pull from when she's in those moments of fear.
Mhm.
And he also was so good at taking that flower blossom crown, which is a memory of her Mimi.
Mhm.
And later in the book, and it doesn't say it in the words, it's only in his illustrations, where that flower blossom crown is floating in the water before the storm comes. And then at the end, well, you can see he has that flower blossom crown reappear. So it just, for him and for me, it was a way, and he did it magically. It was a way to show the traditions and the stories that we pass through the ages
Yeah.
are in that Wagon forever. He also is an excellent artist. His watercolors, and he is commissioned to do art all over.
Yeah.
And I'm very, very lucky to have him as an artist. And I'm sorry he couldn't be here today, but I'm sure he'll watch it. So Dennis, thank you so much.
Phenomenal as always, Dennis. Well, we've been talking a lot about this story. Should we jump in and read it?
Let's do it.
Okay, so I'm going to remove myself from the stream.
Oh,
Folks who are watching, again, whether this is live or on the replay, drop any questions that you have for Mary in the comments. And if we have time, we'll get to those today. If not, we'll just answer them in the comments as time progresses. So Mary is pulling her book, and I'm going to remove myself and share the illustrations and the book in a digital version so that you can watch Mary read it if you want to, but you can also see the illustrations as well. Mary, did you have a question?
Oh, I have one comment at the end, but I think
Okay.
it's a good comment to end with.
Okay. Well, let me remove myself and we'll jump in then.
Betty and her red wagon. Courage unleashed. With my loyal cat, Anna, I pull my red wagon to Mimi's favorite tree, a jacaranda. Remembering making flower blossom crowns with her and hearing stories about trailblazers. It only takes one step at a time to get anywhere, she encouraged me. Mimi knew all of my secrets. I dream of being a trailblazer and I want a puppy more than anything. Believe in your dreams. Be courageous, she told me. I just got to convince Dad I need to rescue a puppy. Please. Parenting a pup takes constant care, Dad tells me. I can do it. I promise. I will handle everything. Hard to say no to a puppy and a promise, he chuckles. I'll sleep on it. Rise and shine, Betty. It looks like a fabulous day to find a furry friend. The shelter sounds like a lunchroom at my school. It's rackety with a pattering of paws and Perky slurps as dogs clamor for my attention. Anna hears a low growl. Grrr. She fluffs her tail, she arches her back, and she spits back. Hiss! But one calm, dark-eyed pup captures my attention. I found her, I shout over the chorus of barks. Looks like this pup has chosen you too, Dad nods. I follow his gaze. First, I notice her eyes. They are warm and trusting. Her fur is as dark as night, soft and cuddly. Shadow, that's what I'll call you. This pup is amazing. She's healthy, learns tricks in a flash, but I am obligated to tell you, she is terrified of water, a volunteer tells me. I will teach her to be courageous, just like Mimi taught me. I can hear Shadow's crate creaking. Is she paw picking the latch? I wonder. I lay very still, but softly giggle, watching her sniffing as she tries to find me. She circles before settling in to snuggle. I decide to let her. Sleep tight, Shadow and Anna. I've got you, I whisper. Today, I figure Shadow will be fearless because everything I have read said Labradors are water dogs. Let's play fetch. Come, Shadow. You've got this. But Shadow freezes. Watch Anna, I suggest. Stretching, Anna reaches for the frisbee and screeches and meow. Dad, Shadow is cuddly and calm, but around the water, she's more of a scaredy cat than Anna. Every trick I have tried is not working. Betty, facing fear takes time, and we don't know what Shadow has been through. Let her play near the water. She'll learn by listening and sniffing, seeing and searching. Try to be patient, one step at a time. You've got this. His smile is reassuring. Go, Shadow, fetch. I watch Shadow curiously sniff the water, but when it splashes up her nostrils, she whimpers. You're okay, Shadow, I tell her. She perks up her ears. Grrr, she snarls and seems to say, I've got this. I love how she quickly sprints through the water, her tail wagging and her head held high as she prances back to me with the ball. Good girl, Shadow. I have an idea. What does Shadow love the most? Doing tricks for treats. And if Shadow practices her treats near the water, she'll feel less afraid. Anna is eager to help. Shadow, do what Anna does. You've got this. There's fetch, stay, roll over, shake, and speak. Good girls, Shadow and Anna. I scratch them both behind their ears. They like that. I'm ready for a beach day, I beam. Dad's whistle can be heard a mile away. Wow, Betty, are we staying for a week? He cracks up. Unloading the wagon isn't as fun as loading it, I grumble. Dad isn't listening. Best day ever, he says. Look, the water is sparkling like diamonds, Betty. It is obvious to me that Shadow is not as excited about this enormous body of water. She's busy digging like a backhoe in the sand until a crab latches onto her snout. Leave it, Shadow, I command as the sand crab creeps away. We all feel scared sometimes, and that's okay, but you can't hide. To be courageous, you must face your fear. Come, Shadow, I coax. 1, 2, 3, come. Just take one step at a time. You've got this. Reluctantly, Shadow follows. As the cool water swirls around her legs, she shivers. Plant your feet, I tell her. You're lucky you have 4 paws. She begins to dog paddle. You've got this. Then I hear a distant roar, and I spot a towering wave curling and crashing towards us. Dad, look out, a monster wave. I am afraid. I try to hold on to Shadow, but the current is strong, and the sand under my feet is being pulled out to the ocean. Here, use this, Dad's voice booms. Shadow, we can catch this wave, I reassure her, hoping. We ride the wave into the white water, harnessing the breeze, just like seasoned surfers. When Shadow's paws are secure in the sand, I feel her shaking water from nose to tail. It's a zoomy water dog. I laugh, and you're such a courageous surfing dog, Shadow, Dad exclaims. Then I watch Shadow dashing. And tenderly, Shadow does downward facing dog so Anna can crawl onto her back. A rambunctious rumble can be heard. Meowing and woof, woof, woofing echoes across the beach as we splash and laugh all together in the water. We've got this. That's it. I also have a creative investigation page. I did in the first book, and I have one in this book as well. And in this book, the reader can go back and look for sunflowers. And I have a little riddle. Look up and down, look all around. The sunflower might not be in the ground. So the reader goes back and looks to see if they can find sunflowers, and a hint. Betty's Mimi made a sunflower quilt. And they look for trailblazers and how that word is mentioned. I mentioned rescue shelters. It's really important to me that children know that they can adopt puppies. I went to Wayside Waifs and learned all about the wonderful care and what wonderful pets that can be adopted. There's also a turtle sighting in the book. Dennis has put turtles on various pages.
Don't tell them where.
Okay.
Let them find it.
And find the jacaranda tree. So that's my book, Betty and Her Red Wagon.
I love it. So Betty and Her Red Wagon, Courage Unleashed is the second book in the Betty and Her Red Wagon series. And we're getting into legacy territory now, Mary, right? Thinking about the impact that you want your books to have. What kind of legacy or connection do you hope to leave with readers, especially through the journey of Betty and Her Red Wagon?
I've really thought about that, and what a thoughtful question. I've never thought about my legacy, but it's a tender story, both of them, with warmth and adventure, imagination and courage. But I think the most important thing to me is that all children, regardless of their race or their gender or their circumstance, can find themselves in my book.
Yeah. I love that. Should we bring your family on to talk a little bit about your legacy?
Sure.
Okay. Meg and Michael, get ready. I'm bringing you in, and
Okay.
Lee will bring you in a second. So we're talking about legacy, and I think it's pretty appropriate that we bring in Mary's actual legacy in the two of you and your siblings as well. But tell me a little bit about what you see when you're thinking about Betty and Her Red Wagon, when you're thinking about your mom as an educator. What do you feel her legacy is?
I can go.
Okay.
I think that just to highlight, but my mom was a gifted education teacher, and recently my partner and I have been using a technique that my mom would always highlight. It sounds simple, but it's powerful, and it's just brainstorming. But a part of that brainstorming for me throughout my life has been to think about things and to not be afraid to think about them in a way that is different and creative. And throughout my life, that has allowed for a chance to take a different path, whether that was in school or with career choices or different projects. I think that the courage to really brainstorm and think about things in a different way has been so important to my life. And in regard to this book, just that experience, a representation of encountering something that you're afraid of and being able to pass through that experience. Part of brainstorming and thinking differently to arrive at a different way of seeing the world is very powerful. It's very powerful. And I think that those lessons are a bit of my mom's legacy. And I think they've been very powerful for my life.
And I will echo that, Michael. So my mom was, Michael, did you ever have mom as a teacher?
Did not quite line up.
I did. And so my mom for several years was my gifted teacher. And so Mrs. Tetweiler, I think, and I remember kids who had graduated from high school would come back and say, Mrs. Tetweiler, I'm still using that. If it doesn't say you can't, then you can. A lot of the, and now it's very in vogue, design thinking, but creative thinking and critical thinking that we were taught in Mrs. Tetweiler's class allowed people who had both analytical and creative energy to harness it and to really not be afraid of it. And I do think that that changes the way that you kind of navigate life. And I think a legacy of my mom's, as I think about what she has been able to do, is certainly in all the kids and the lessons that she's taught, because that lives on. And we're all making decisions and breaking lots of rules and flipping the script and turning things on its head to find our own way. And I see, even now, my mom not being afraid of, not that it's not hard, but finding new creative outlets and pouring herself and her energy into her projects. And a lot of fulfillment can come from the creative process.
Yeah.
Certainly there's critique and there's judgment and there's all those things that make it hard. But I think when you were talking, Mom, about the joy that comes from the writing and the creating, I feel that. I feel that hot gluing my Halloween costume that's coming up for a couple of days. I feel that when I'm trying to write a poem. I feel that in my life. And I think it's really important for you to be able to find happiness on your own. We were talking earlier about how important it is to be courageous and ask for help. I also think a really important lesson that OG Betty Baird once taught me, Mom's mom, is that you really need to be able to make yourself happy. And being a creative person, you can find a lot of creative fulfillment in your projects and finding a way to channel your passion. And I think my mom has done that and taught many around her to do the same.
Yeah, I love that.
Thank you.
Marlo has joined us.
And I like kicked myself off and then came back. So tell me the question that we're answering.
So we're talking about legacy. Yeah, we're talking about legacy. The legacy that you feel your mom is leaving behind in both her life as an educator and in the stories that she's woven.
I have an early memory of my mom on TV on our local cable channel. And she was orchestrating a project and a movement within the community to save a building, which used to be part of not like, what do you call it, Mom? Like a movie, basically.
Monastery. A school.
Monastery. But they were, so it was a beautiful old building that had a stage, and Mom was working with the community and really lobbying to save the building and have the community invest into the building becoming a cultural center in our small town in Paola. And I have a memory of seeing her walking in a room. In my mind, it was on television. I can picture her pencil skirt. I can picture her haircut, tiny like Meg. This was probably before my brothers were born. And I think that embodies her legacy, and it touches on what everyone has said. She has always been a trailblazer in her life. She was the president of her university. She was always navigating at the forefront of what it meant to be a woman and what it meant to be a creative, intelligent woman, and how to instill power into those things in the community, in the education system, and in our family. And I think about, it was the early 80s, and here's this tiny, beautiful woman getting people to open their pocketbooks and create a building where people can come and see art and music and hear stories and, learn how to be creative thinkers. And I think what's so powerful in that is that I believe, and we all have that ability. Every human has that ability. Everyone is a creative, powerful thinker. We're just not encouraged to live that way. And I think it's a really unique and kind of creating art to be able to think so creatively and critically.
Yeah.
And she brought that to our community through the Cultural Center. She brought that to the state of Kansas through what she wrote as far as like legislation with IEPs, and she's bringing that into her books.
Yeah.
And I think all of us who have been able to learn from her are better off for it.
Yeah.
Marlo,
So-
can I jump in here? And I just want to share one other anecdote for you, Cynthia, and also whoever's listening. As I think about the first book, there was something that both Marlo and I attended for many years that my mom dreamt up and facilitated for gifted girls. And it was
There you go.
It was Gifted Girls Day. And she brought women from all different careers, from
Attorneys to
pastry chefs to authors to florists. I'm trying to think. There was an aviation. There were all of these different
TV
breakout
thinkers, and it was
and it's
the city is big. It was like all gifted girls from like across the state came to this seminar.
And it was a seminar day to expose people and get young girls to start thinking about their path. And I think that was very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Olympics of Mind and Creative Investigations Day. And like, she's done it her whole life and career.
Yeah.
And the fact that she's able to, in this chapter, find another avenue to keep pushing her message in a way that's really inspirational and fun and full of empathy, I think is very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. Where are those tissues?
So I'm going to say this while she's wiping her eyes dry. Marlo, Meg, Michael, Lee, you all don't know this. Mary knows it. But I am actually one of the beneficiaries of attending the Gifted program through USD 500.
Amazing.
That my mom helped to start. So her work lives on through me. Through this book and through all that I get to interact with, all of the people that I have the opportunity to connect with, all of the students that I get to visit when I do school visits, they're all gleaning from part of Mary's legacy. And that happens with each and every student who has gone through something that she's created, and with each and every individual who picks up, Mary, a book that you have written and have gifted to the world. So thank you for all that you have done.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Y'all.
Okay. Couple of comments came in from Hannah. She said, "Love the book, Mary. So excited for you in this next chapter." And then Stacy said, "Mary has touched so many lives through teaching, friendships, and community involvement. Her legacy is the love and time she has given to the world around her." And I think we all agree with you.
Thanks.
Okay. We're going to add someone special back in here. Lee.
Well, Cynthia, I'm glad you told that story because I wanted to. I just, the full circle. But here's another full circle that I don't think any of you know, but my secretary, Sherry, has been listening to this with me this morning. And Sherry's granddaughter has been nominated for the gifted program at one of the Olathe schools, Havencroft, where Mary started that gifted program. So
Very
it isn't
cool.
just Cynthia, now it's the next generation in Sherry's family. I mean, so that
Absolutely.
Mary has got a wide swath, and I don't think I've ever thought of the word legacy, but that is what it is. It's she's going to leave that.
Well, not too soon.
Well, you've already have ripples, right? You already have ripples. Since we're talking about waves,
So much.
all of those spiral and build into much bigger waves that can have an impact on the world. So I have a book where we talk about how one person can make an impact. And Mary, look at the impact that you have made.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank all of you.
How are you feeling right now?
My greatest gift to the world is my children.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure. I'm just kidding. That's not true. Totally kidding.
I'm feeling
Oh my
very
goodness.
fulfilled.
Good.
Very fulfilled.
Good. Okay. Well, if people are interested, you have an event that's coming up soon, right?
Yes, it's this afternoon.
Yes. Tell us about that event.
The Paola Free Library. Morgan Menifee is the director, and she has invited me to read my book at the library. So it'll be the first time that I've read my book, except for the virtual launch, to an audience.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to it.
Very cool.
I have tattoos for children, and I have a possibility of winning a stuffed shadow dog.
Mm-hmm.
I have stickers and a surprise.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Tattoos. Tell them about the tattoos. Can you show them?
I finally got it off. The tattoos.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Temporary tattoos.
Just
Yes, please. Can we clarify that temporary tattoos?
I'm going permanent. I'm inking it. No worries.
temporary tattoo. And I'll get one for each one of my children. But yesterday, every place that I went, they said, "What is that on your hand?" And I said, "I'm going to have to tell the parents. It stays for about 2 or 3 days."
That's a good temporary tattoo. So you have another who's popped in to say hi and congrats.
Hi, Haynes.
Hi.
I told stories about you. I don't know.
I heard. I don't know what they are. I hope they're good.
You'll have to listen to it later. But thank you for being a big part of this book.
Oh, good.
My hand guiding me through my fear. And
Glad to be part of it.
And in the book, there's in memory of my dedication is to my children, of course, but it's always also in memory of Roquefort and Xavier, Luke, and all the four-legged friends who teach us courage.
Thanks, Mom.
Very cool.
Oh, it's been a joy. This has really, really been fun.
Yeah.
Right.
Thank
Well,
you.
thank you all for joining us for this. I'm going to
Thank you,
remove y'all from the screen.
What a wonderful way to start the book launch. Enjoy, Mom, reading later this afternoon. And I know we were working on a time for you to read to my daughter's classes coming up in the fall. And so there's going to be lots of times to read this story over and over again. And so I can't wait to hear it soon. But thank you for letting us be part of this. And
Oh,
yeah.
I'm so glad. I'm so
Absolutely.
glad I'll be together.
Thanks, Cynthia.
Thank you all.
So
I'm
much.
so glad you could join us.
Love ya. Have a good day.
Oh my goodness. So Meg was right. This is the start of your launch. This is just the beginning. What do you hope to see with this second book?
I hope to see that Betty's growth is possibly picked up by some of its readers.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I hope that it's a book that parents will grab and read when they need to maybe teach or talk about a lesson, when you don't want to really parent without a facilitating hand, not a firm hand. Like,
Yeah.
don't bully that child. You don't know what they're going through. Don't bully. That's something I learned at Wayside, that if a child bullies a pet, maybe they've had some of that at home.
Mm.
So I think that there's lots of lessons in the book. So I hope that the reader can go through and just enjoy it, but
Yeah.
also use it as a tool if needed.
Yeah. One more note.
That's really nice.
From
Thank
your
you,
sister.
Stacy.
I love it. I love it. So lots coming for Betty and her Red Wagon Courage Unleashed, which is available on most online retailers. I was trying to pull all the links to the Launch Crate page that we have, but I feel like I missed some. So anywhere that you buy books online, you can likely find Betty and her Red Wagon. For those of you that are local, keep an eye out because Mary is going to be popping up in some different locations, and you can come buy a copy from her that she will autograph. Right? We're not going to tell them where just yet.
No, not yet.
They
But
have to make sure that they're following, though.
and I'll personalize them. So
Mhm.
might
Can
be-
they get a temporary tattoo as well?
They probably can get a temporary.
Okay.
Be a great gift for a Christmas gift.
Absolutely.
Have a book.
Yeah. Mary, thank you so much for sharing your morning with me. This has been a great way to start the day.
Cynthia, thank you for all that you have done for me. I call you my patient publisher. A guide on my side to help me.
Hey, awesome.
So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome. Well, any final thoughts before we close it out today?
It's going to be a good day. It already is, isn't it?
It already is. Yeah.
What
It
a
already is. All right.
So much.
Well, those of you who watched, whether it was live or on the replay, thank you so much for sharing part of your day with us as well. And help us spread the word about Betty and her Red Wagon, Courage Unleashed. And we'll see you in the next live from home. Have a good
Thank
one.
you. Thanks.